it's not enough to try and go to a politician to try and get them to change the way they do things, unless you can give them these quantitatives.
The value of research in helping policy is that policy becomes evidence-based. You have a basis for making a decision. Instead of just looking into the skies and just imagining things, you make choices based on what has been presented to you.
Evidence-based policy has become a buzzword for researchers and policymakers the world over. It sounds nice, and it sounds straightforward. But what does it really take for evidence-based policy to go from being a phrase to being a reality? Collaboration is the key. Running projects together to find out what works. This is the story of how the International Growth Centre collaborates with policymakers to support evidence-based policy and generate impact.
I first came to Ghana in 2009 and spent 2 years as an ODI fellow at the Ministry of Trade and Industry in the civil service of Ghana. 2013, I meet Nana. He is the executive secretary at the Management Services Department. I'm doing my PhD fieldwork, and that's when we start working together on the infrastructure delivery research.
It was more of a conversation based on my interest in ensuring that the hospitals, the roads, the schools were being put up and that we're getting value for money.
Martin Williams told us that he was interested in finding out the state of abandoned projects in Ghana. So if somebody comes and says that this is something I think is a problem here and I want to go into it, research and find the solution to it, it gives us a chance to make informed decisions.
Martin and his team, with International Growth Centre support, carried out research and found that the key issue comes down to how the projects are funded. The resulting project is now shaping how government institutions work across the country.
And these experiences from the research will now be drawn, and in fact, they've already been incorporated into the policy framework. It then becomes the playbook, if you will, for the ministries.
The infrastructure project led to its own impact, but it also led to an established way of working together and a level of trust that had set the foundation for future collaboration. Over time, Nana and Martin began to work together on other research questions as well.
Then in 2014, Nana becomes the head of the civil service and says to me, Martin, I want to do some reforms. Let's make them evidence-based. Will you work with me on a survey?
One of my key interests was, what can we do differently in the civil service? What reform interventions we needed to do?
As a result of this discussion, research funded by the IGC started the groundwork for trialling a better way to train civil servants. But it wasn't a one-way street. To solve problems for policymakers, the conversation has always gone both ways.
It was not going to be just another academic kind of exercise. It was going to be training based on what the needs are, particularly for ministries, for departments, or for units.
Martin and the team came up with a course content, and then we had a look at it, myself and my trainers.
We made suggestions how we could address the intervention, how we could ensure that the training was more effective.
We felt it would be needful to engage the directorate as a whole.
In the past, researchers have proposed policies based on evidence and best practice. These are then trialed to see if they work. Where this project stands out is the policy has come out of a collaboration between researchers, policymakers, and practitioners.
A lot of money is put into research only to find it so many years on the shelf and not being implemented. But this particular research, it's something that immediately it was completed, we started to run with it.
Having good relationships with people inside government is really critical as a researcher because, first and foremost, you want your research and your ideas to have an impact. Ultimately, the reason why we're all doing this is because we want the world to be a better place.
Some of the outputs of the work that we have done, we are factoring into our current medium-term plan. We have been able to build a capacity of over 50 or 60 people in the area of research. We've also built a capacity of trainers. But beyond that, people have become much more confident, even the Civil Service Training Center, in terms of their delivery, and we are using them as resource persons. And for me, that is good. So it's sustainable.
To some, evidence-based policy may still be a buzzword. But for the policymakers in Ghana, it's becoming more of a reality thanks to collaboration with real benefits for real people.